I should hit
Well, good afternoon and welcome to the pregame show right here on islandstats.com. I'm your host, Earl Basden. Joining me, co-host Macy O'Dill and Garrett Punchy Dill. Gentlemen, today is kind of a D-Day for Bermuda, a must-win situation if they want to stay involved in this division or even get an opportunity to advance. It all starts here. We have a game again on Tuesday, however, that's on the road. But what are you anticipating for today with Bermuda having such a young outfit or mixture of young and experienced outfit for today's match?
well, just going back to the circumstance, I think it's a long shot for us why it's mathematically that we can't qualify for the World Cup. I think we'll put ourselves in a very, very tough situation to qualify. The more relevant question right now is not probably not getting relegated out of this group, staying at this level and having the opportunity to play against certain opposition at this level, such as Haiti. We don't want to drop down and have to play against other different levels. But as to the question about the young players, uh, I'm a bit I'm a bit concerned about injecting them into this type of situation. You know, a lot of them is going to be their first outfit against home opposition. They're going to be excited, and then there's also a bit of responsibility being put on these young players. You know, in this transitioning period to be able to carry the load. I'm not always certain that young players are capable of carrying the load and putting them in. So what I'm getting at, while I'm encouraging the young players to be involved, the circumstances that we're putting them involved under is challenging. So I'm fearful for today, but I'm hoping that I'm wrong about it, and some of these young players that are in professional environments, you know, show their stuff, show their mental, show what they're capable of. You know,
Punchy?
Oh, it's just I agree with what Macy was saying, but for me, I'm sure with these youngsters coming in, um, we have to do this sometime. It would have been better maybe to have more friendlies so they could build up to this, but here we are now. Um, I'm very enthused about it. Like I spoke with you earlier about the fact that this change of God. Now, the key is also to mention the fact that this might be his last uh, turnoff for the national team. But then there's this Jai Bean. So we're looking at a few youngsters that are coming through. And what's exciting about it, most of those that have been picked are playing overseas.
Mm-hmm.
And I think eventually that's what this team is going to be made up of. You know, with the additions of some of the better players in this country in the league.
Right.
But people are enthused about it because they want to see, okay, what is Denichi Hill? What does he look like if he's picked to start?
Mm-hmm.
But again, I'll add into what Maceo said. It's kind of pressure to put him under. But I think what we're looking at is who do we select?
Right.
Who do we select? And I think it's for the kids, for the young ones coming through, it's gonna be a little bit nervy, but I think they'll be okay.
One of the things that, and Maceo did touch on it, one of the things that we can look forward to is the fact that a lot of the younger ones have played abroad or are playing abroad. So we just have to make sure that we nurture that nerves and what they want to do to impress people on home soil to make sure that they don't, kind of blow up. You know what I mean? Because we've had in the past where we've had young players coming to the sport, international young players coming to the sport, and they want to show everything that they've learned in this one game when things are not going well. They're trying to force things to happen, kind of thing. Where I think they gotta let those things come naturally, just like training. Things happen naturally. So I think that's where we've got to hope that in the locker room, the coaching staff help them to understand that let's get what we gotta get done first, and then we can start to show people whatsoever.
When we talk about preparation all the time, I think that's what we're talking about. Learning these players' triggers. So from the coaching staff, they know what they want, but it's another dynamic that takes a little while to turn these players' triggers. And I speak of it when England transitioned into the young players. So let's talk about when they transitioned to young players tournament and the time that it took at that level to learn what these players would trigger. And Gareth Southgate, I'm course referee, I know it's professional and amateur, but I'm course referee. Gareth Southgate worked with a lot of those young players in the youth development.
Mm,
So he knew their triggers. Whereas, I know that Carl's now worked with a lot of these players in their youth development and understanding what their triggers are, what are the best situations for them. So that concerns me as to how quickly their triggers can be understood that to get the best out. How quickly do they know how to gel and communicate with themselves,
mhm.
to get that, and on top of it, being under this type of pressure because our opposition today, they have a real opportunity to qualify.
Yeah,
So they have a real focus to qualify for the Gold Cup. You know, so we're under a pressure situation for sure.
yeah. And I mean that reality is reality. They're gonna want to show that 2-1 win earlier in the competition wasn't a fluke. They're gonna want to show that they deserve that win, and they're gonna want to keep that chance of them
Yeah.
advancing. So we have to be cautious on how we play this particular game, and obviously we'll speak to the coach after the game, but we want to be sure that everybody understands what the aim and goal is for today. Don't worry about Tuesday yet, because you have to deal with today.
Oh, but if I could, if you look at the first game that we lost down to
Hmm.
Guyana, a 2-1, right? There was one person sent off, right?
Right?
I think it was Jalen Hub.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
How did we play in that game? The first half, still, the second half is what my concern was. Even before we went down 1-0, the style of play we were playing at, we played right into the hands. It was poor passes, and the ball was going over the top. It wasn't so. Um, there was a lot of there was a lot to be left to be desired there in terms of results and how they lost that game.
Mhm.
But let me go back to about the young players and what's happening in Bermuda, which is I think it's gonna be it's gonna take time. When you got an abundance, mostly young talent leaving the country early, going overseas, playing for academies, probably in good schools in the United States, Canada, or England, or wherever that may be. So what with and our national program is still void of them playing together constantly.
Mhm.
Oh, okay, let's have a practice. And that's what makes us have more practice matches. When you get these groups together, now you start to bond them. You're gonna have to see like, okay, in 3 years, uh, there's Mr. Tucker at Burnley
Mhm.
playing with Benicio Hill.
Mhm.
He's been playing for look at any top national team. How often those players are playing together. So we are beginning a new phase here in this country, and I think it's going to bode well for what is happening in the country. That many of our leagues are going to suffer,
Mhm.
but what does it do for the national program, which I think is a plus.
Yeah. Well, it's got to be a overall. What you talk about, it's got to be an overall club country come together. You know what I mean? The clubs have to understand what direction we want to go internationally, and we move collectively in our domestic game into that regard. I think a lot of times the clubs want to do what they want to do, and then the national team's trying to do something different, and we don't have enough time because we have so many amateur players playing domestically.
Yeah.
We don't have enough time to match it all up.
That's a subject that's very close to me as to creating a collective way of moving. I also want to touch on the players that are not here. You have a Remy Cottington that's not here. You have that's at West Ham. You have Jai Tucker that's operating under Vincent Company at Berlin that's not here. You have a King Critchlow that the last outing he showed his potential. That's that's not here.
Mhm.
You know, for me, being around the landscape of Bermuda football or the national football for the last 30 years plus, we still have a problem putting our best players on the field at the same time. We still have this gap and what and it's either the players refusing to call up because even let's go to the local players that are not hurt. The Hall brothers had a great season this year. They have, from what I've heard from the ground, they have refused to call up. Why is this? Why is this happening? Why are players refusing to call up? Because it's just not good. We have to figure out what where is this gap between our national program, our club program, and our players? Where's the gap, and how do we fill that gap so we're always got the best of the best available for each match?
Mm.
That's a serious situation that we have to bridge that gap, right?
Yeah. But one of the things I had an opportunity to interview Marco Warren
Marco
earlier
Warren
this
not
week,
here. Yeah.
and I did ask him, if he was, going to be in the national team, and he indicated that he needs his body to rest. He's had a long season. He didn't know how his body was going to react, from time to time. So he declined the offer at this time. So, like you say, we need to find out why, but I think we need to be able to ask these players why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they have to be able to,
Yeah.
I mean, you know, just say why. I mean, if you don't like coaching style, if you don't like Bermuda style, if you don't like certain things, but say why,
Why?
so then those things could be addressed. If you don't give an opportunity to address them, how can you fix anything?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
we have to look to make sure that our attention is on the
Yeah.
detail.
Because when I look at the young players we got available, I actually think you put these young players that we got available around Nicky Valve,
Mhm.
we get 2 more years out of Nicky Valve. These players service in Nicky Valve at the level that they're playing at
Mhm.
and the ability that he has. And then these young players learning from Nicky Valve.
Mhm.
If you being around Nicky Valve is what, 32 years old?
Yeah.
I still think he's at Bermuda, he's got potentially 3 years, that he can play for us. I mean, he's now suggested that he's putting his international career on pause for a minute. He used the language that he's not retiring, but this
Right.
could be his. That was his language. I'm not retiring, but this could be my last outfit for Bermuda.
I'd rather
You know,
have heard
yeah,
him say it verbally
yeah,
than be written, because
Written.
you ain't sure if he was misquoted.
yes.
You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
and that's been a
That's been a thing. Yeah,
yeah. But
yeah.
if it is,
Yeah.
he serviced us well.
So it's definitely service as
Um,
well.
I was
But I would love to see
See
this
it,
young,
yeah.
new generation of players around the Mickey Mouse.
Wait,
Yeah.
and adding to that, what Rachel was saying about the old boys, I was because that's my first for her and Warren players that
Yeah.
are playing in the league now,
Yes.
and Marco Warren.
Mhm.
I was like, those guys are not in the team, so I don't know why, but again, that's open for discussion.
Yeah.
That's what we need to find
And
out.
I'm glad Marco took the opportunity to explain. You know
Oh
what I mean?
yes,
Out of his
Yes.
own mouth, he explained why he chose not to at this point in time, which
Well, I think that's good stuff because the last time we interviewed Marco on that
he
question,
didn't want to answer.
well, what he actually said, he was saying that his spirit is not right at the
Right,
national.
right.
So he spoke from it that the environment's not right for him,
Mhm.
and at least now is another step because I understand spirit players like Marco Warren.
Mhm.
Marco Warren is what we call a spirit player.
Right.
He's in love with the art of the game,
Mhm.
and I think sometimes at the national level it wasn't set up tactically where you can take advantage of.
Right,
But
right.
but it's not to say that the tactics were wrong. It
Mhm.
just wasn't set up for Marco Warren. The tactics were required to get the result at the national at that level.
Right.
So it's nice to hear him to now possibly being considering at this level because for me, when it comes to Bermuda, I want all my best players
Yeah.
available. I want us to put aside whatever differences that we have,
Mhm.
and bridge that gap.
Right.
So the Bermuda public can see its best players, and we can get the best result for Bermuda. Yeah.
And it's funny if you look at it. Okay, does Marco's style of football work at the national level in the national team?
I actually don't think it does. I actually don't think it's set up for how his style of football is.
Mhm.
I don't think it's a system that potentially can take advantage of it. But Dan, saying that, has not been given an opportunity to figure it out.
Right.
That's the other part. He's not been here long enough to say, well, can we figure this out? Because that's what it is. Is like, can we figure it out together? And I
Mhm.
think if the opportunity was there, you know, these things could be figured out.
Yeah.
They could figure out how to put this puzzle together.
I'm adding to that about
Yeah.
Marco. When you guys speak about Marco, it's the type of football played doesn't suit him.
Mhm.
Well, let's go back to when. Let's go back. I'm going internationally. Let's go back when Deschamps and what happened to the French football national team.
Yeah.
Now look at Deschamps' size and look at the quality, but look who was playing around him. Look how that midfield was designed. I think Marco One will be a great asset to the national program
Mhm.
if we need to decide how to play around him
Yeah.
and build a game around him. And I think and I just watch him over the years. It's getting how old is he now, Maceo?
Marco's in his late 20s.
Yeah.
See, is it okay? All right. So let's say that we start building the game and we build the game around the Zico Lewis here. I'm glad to see. But let's say we build the game around Marco, and our style of football is conducive for him the way we play. I mean, how many people talk about his size? It's
Not
you
a
know
problem.
it's not a
Yeah.
problem.
Not a
It's not
problem.
a problem. It's crafty. So even playing when I'm watching play for PAC, when PAC struggle, you're gonna get some good stuff. If it's 75% of the game, you're gonna get something good up,
Mm.
right?
But the other thing to add to is
Mhm.
now with the young squad, you see what Marco does how with young players.
Very well put. Exactly.
But I want to just change names again because again when we look at resources of players, we're playing a center back and Dante Lavrock that's not played football for what 5 months, 5 months or
It's
so,
longer than that.
for longer than 6 months. He hasn't played football. It's a gap there. It's a gap there of when we choose to transition the younger generations of players. There's a gap there. And now we're left, in my opinion, we're left for fenced on that we're going to use a Dante Labrock in a game like this that's not played football for 6 months.
Yeah.
That for me is the problem of our preparation in the past and our transition in the past. Like if I if I have a bigger conversation in this, when we went to the World Cup,
Mhm.
now when we went to the World Cup, we took the likes of Shakur Robinson. Why we didn't take a Randy Carter? Why we didn't take a Jai Dean then? Why we didn't exclude some of the older players that weren't going to be the future, that were on the edge of it, and implement some of the younger players there. Now we would have been a little bit farther ahead on this journey if we would have gave those players that opportunity. So I just don't think we got the transition right.
Mm.
Can I?
We didn't get the transition right. We went too long with the old oligarch. Now you got a Reggie Liam that's saying, well, I can't come.
Mm.
I can't come. I'm doing this first, and I can't come. To
Right.
represent, and we're not got the youngsters ready.
Mm. I
Um,
mean,
I'm
okay,
sorry. Go ahead.
a good point.
Mhm.
Where do we find
No.
defenders like that?
Okay. Now I made a note of that, and I'm very glad because I was going to bring that up. Basically,
Right.
brought it up. Who hasn't, of course, what's it going to be like out there for him physically
Yeah.
for Dante? Now, when I started sucking, looking around and made a note of it, who in this country will replace him? Who do we have? Now, I thought about the young man that plays the center half, and that's Robin Hood that came playing for PHC.
Dylan Bapp.
Yeah, but
I thought for sure that would be the next person playing in the national program.
But
no,
remember, those two were
he
together.
he was here.
In the
He was
Nations
okay
Cup.
in the Nations Cup,
Yeah.
but has he been selected for this team?
No, he hasn't been selected for this team, and the word around it is vaccination because you have to be vaccinated to travel. So that's still something that we're not figured out
Right.
as yet.
Right.
Because we have to go through the
we
states.
have to
and
go
if you-
through the
if you're
states.
not vaccinated,
Okay.
you
If you're
can't.
not, if you're not vaccinated, you can't go through the states. And that's an issue. Still, those COVID things are still relevant.
Mhm.
But when you say young players, I like to speak of Edre Moore.
Right.
Edre Moore, I like to speak of the guy from up Somerset, the tall one that we took to a youth tournament. He didn't play well. I'm gonna get his name right. He's been away in school. But the problem is when you took these players in the under 23 and other leagues, they didn't do well in those tournaments because
Mhm.
again lack of preparation. But we have to bring them along
Right.
because if we talk about Lavrock, we had to bring him along.
Yes. Yeah.
Harvey, we had to bring all of them along.
Mhm.
So what we haven't done is board the defenders alone
Right.
to get them to the international standard. We haven't invested that development time in these type of players to actually to get them there.
Mm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like I actually think the PAT player is the left back for PAT, um,
Oh, DeAndre.
DeAndre. He's
Uh,
an international player,
mm.
but he needs to be brought along cross side. He's actually an international player. I think the other guy at PAT, Lord,
Yes.
he is an international player, but he has to be brought along
Mm.
to this level and keeps going back to preparation.
Yes.
Are we using the other platforms in the under 23, the under the under 15 to bring these players along? Are
Mhm.
we properly doing that work there? That when we get them up to this level, they're at? And the answer is no.
Great.
The
Yes.
answer is no
Right.
because we just saw the result of the under 17.
17s.
The answer is no, that we're not doing the work at this foundation level. So these players are being brought along to get to this level. That's what the answer looks like to me. So
Um,
we have to play a player that's not played football for 6 months.
I'm so glad. I don't know what the associate do when they sit down and have these talks. I'm so glad that we are talking about this because the people ask a lot of questions. The people I work around, I work in the industry with a lot of guys. And they say, "Why this player's not here? Why?" And I don't have the answer, but the answers in terms of why, uh, like what we're talking about is these players are not playing. They are not. We don't have a program designed to transition from the 15, the under 15. They smoothly move to the under 17s. Then they move to the under 23s. And this is all. Is it about finances, or is it just that we're lacking in those areas?
Yeah.
Boy Harris.
Harris, yes,
Yeah.
Harris,
Tazico.
Tazico Harris.
Tazico Harris.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. The person that when you,
Thank you, Tazico Harris. So we have. So this is my point. I mean, I'm speaking from an advantage point because I spent so many years of my coaching in the youth. So I saw the youth I saw the kids that were coming through, where the capabilities are. I've seen them drop off because at 15, 16, there's no next step for them.
yes.
There's no next step for them, and they drop off in quality, they drop off in commitment, they get disheartened with it. So but we have youth players out there that have shown capabilities at that level
Yeah.
that we're not really brought along. And then I actually think that there is some challenges in the positions that we play players in. So
Right.
I'll take a Deniche Hill.
Mm.
I used to have very, very lively debates with Deniche Hill about, I mean, he's my godson. I had lively debates with his father about what position that he's best suited on the field. And my thing was always a left back
Mm.
because he doesn't possess a lot of speed. He possesses a lot of intelligence.
Right.
He's very intelligent. He passes at his pick. He handles the ball really well. His dad's did a lot of work with him. He can move that ball out the back really smoothly.
Mm.
But in his youth development, he was playing father forward.
Right.
And now he goes to Leicester, he's a left back. He's a Trent Alexander.
Mm.
You know, and as we're talking about more defenders, Mateo Turner that's at Hamilton Parish.
Right.
Mateo Turner that at Hamilton Parish is the most intelligent footballer on in Bermuda right now. And we're not seeing it because Hamilton Parish is not there, but he's an international footballer.
Mm.
He needs to be in around his environment. He needs to feel some love. He needs to, but he is actually an international footballer. I don't know if it's been approached, but I would have had a Mateo Turner that plays for Hamilton Parish. He actually grew up at North Village. I would have had him in this squad. Yeah,
We see this in our two national schools.
yeah,
Pride and commitment when it comes to the national level. I think it's a big country issue that we don't have that country pride until it's game day or until we do something good. In the lead up, if you look around in the lead up to a lot of international events, people are standoffish.
yeah.
But the minute we do good, it's rah rah rah, it's flags flying, it's everything Bermuda, 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 and that filters down to players.
Yeah.
We need to figure out, and I always go back to the clubs because the clubs are the PFA, right? At the club level, we have to start getting that country pride back. You go to a youth table tennis game tournament in the U.S. what's the first thing they play before anybody plays? The national anthem. So it's embedded in them.
Yeah.
We don't do that here. Whether you like it or not, until we change it, and if we ever do change it or whatever, but before all our sporting events should be the national anthem. That builds character and national pride.
I agree with
I
you.
would agree with you.
I agree.
You know, and I'm glad that's a very good point that we're talking about because even on my job again with one of the guys that I work with from but Somerset, and I was telling him, well, you guys are going to come and represent the country. Well, the first thing was $40.
Right,
All right. But then there was a guy from I worked with a guy from Jamaica,
Okay.
right? He's married to a Dominican,
Mm-hmm.
and he was adamant, say and he was speaking on law too. You should come support your country, and I was like, yeah,
Because they
tell him.
have pride
I
in
said
their
they have
country.
pride in the country. So I said, you know, I told him, thank you for saying it to these guys. But I'm not blabbing off the mouth of the media guys, but I'm
Mhm.
saying we need to do this more often, like support this program, support the cricket program. And then we can start asking questions about, well, this is not happening. Most people say, oh, this is not happening, I'm not coming.
Mhm.
Show up, right? And then voice your opinion.
Yeah.
But at least show your support, your
Yeah.
support.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. We lack that patriotism within ourselves in our schools.
Yeah.
Only when we do it that we lack that.
Mhm.
And it's filtering in players.
Yeah.
I chastise, I'm a critic of all the young players that they know and they want things off for me all the time.
Mhm.
And I'm not gonna speak for them on national TV, but they give me insight as to why they don't want to play, and I don't accept that from them.
Right.
I
Right.
don't accept
Challenge.
I don't accept that from them, whether it be my own son, whether it be my nephews, whether it be, the friends. I don't
Mhm.
accept that they don't want to represent the country at at this level and show what they're capable of. And I think, again, I use the word, again, a lot of misinformation.
Yeah.
Get a lot of misinformation. Like, even if I speak with my nephew Remy, this is the perfect opportunity. He's not playing a lot at
West Ham.
West Ham. He's recovering from injury. He's trying to find his feet back in the challenge that's there. But this is the perfect opportunity to come learn,
Yes.
score a goal or two, put him back on the net, build his confidence back up, get some love from the fans,
Mhm.
and propel himself on to the next one. This is the perfect opportunity at 18 years old to do that.
Reintroduce himself to West Ham
Reintroduce it. Yeah,
because
reintroduce
West Ham need to
it.
see him.
Yeah, and the same thing. I'm having conversations with Majai Tucker.
Mhm.
He was open to comment. I've had that conversation with his mom.
Mhm.
It's also a vaccination situation for him to be able to travel
US.
to the U.S. But I still would have liked to see him come and at least play the home game. I would like to see him come and play the home game and also, introduce himself to the Bermuda crowd.
Yeah. Yeah. Because they haven't seen him
Introduce
play.
himself.
Yeah.
I have a talk with the kids, the guy talking because I did some work. I do work with them at the door coffee holders because I take them up the Arboretum.
Okay.
I'm saying
Yeah.
this is not, it's like, well, look at the surface, look at the heels. I said, well, come back in the backyard because you guys have played in all these academies, you had all this fun stuff, all this great stuff. You're spoiled for football.
Right.
Come
Right.
back down to the Air Freighter
Mhm.
and prove yourself.
Mhm.
Prove your work freighter.
And what's so fascinating like today on Saturday, I was off today, but showing my event pass, bunch of people down there. I think there was many times today. So it's at the younger level, we're
Yes.
talking about up to 10 or 12. Like,
Yeah.
the amount of people, and it was so. And a couple of weeks ago, I was up there at the Pride Center.
Uh-huh.
he's deserving of his spot. But if you put more deserving people around him, more experienced people around him, we could maybe move in another direction. Right? So I do. I'm not going to dismiss the coaching staff, the
Right.
lack of experience and the lack of results that the coaching staff. I'm not going to dismiss that for the players because that is something that is a focal point. But at the end of the day, this is still Bermuda. Right?
Yeah, yeah,
This is
yeah.
still Bermuda.
And again, like I said, they got their start here.
Yeah.
And if you get your start, what's one thing they always say? Never forget where you started.
Right.
That's a very
Never forget because
yeah.
Sean Gooder did well with that.
right,
Sean Gooder did well with that. He said, you know what? And he used to do well with it when he used to come for play for North Village Rams, and we used to be in changing rooms
right.
that didn't have a bathroom and stuff.
Yes.
And he liked it.
Mm.
He actually, from where he's been and been in family changing
Right,
room,
right.
been in this type of situation, to
Mhm.
come back down on the grassroots and was sitting in the changing room where we're not got showers, we're not got this.
Right.
It's like he was
He was
very,
him.
he was
He
him.
was him.
He was hurt. He was humble enough to deal with it. And some of these younger players, they've been spoiled in football early. They've been spoiled from the best fields, the
Hmm.
best coaches, the best facilities, the best gear. They've been a bit spoiled. But we know the greatest footballers where they come from. Right?
Yeah.
We can speak of Maradona. We can speak of Van Rooney. We can speak of all these street footballers, where they originate from, and where they get their pride from.
Yeah.
They always get the pride from game back here. I mean,
Yeah.
I watched Argentina play the other day in
Yes.
Argentina,
Yes.
first time since the World Cup, and that whole team was crying because it was the first opportunity in front of their.
Fan.
Imagine if Messi, how much times Messi had a problem with the Argentina Association?
Probably every time.
Every single
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
How much times he had a problem with the Argentina? He had enough problems with the
Yeah.
Argentina Association, but did he
He,
continue
never,
to
he
play?
never denied the fans.
He never
Because remember,
denied the country.
that's
He had
the thing.
enough problems with the association.
If you're not putting your hand up after being given a chance
Yeah.
to play the sport you love,
Yeah.
if you're not putting your hand up to represent the country, which actually gave you the start, you're denying the fans, your fans, that opportunity to see you play.
Exactly.
You know what is a good thing. I want to ask a question when we go back to the team and its selection of players. We haven't seen Zico lose play for a while. I was watching because I've actually was watching it just to look at
Yes.
the players. Like, um, what his same thing we're talking about in terms of the style of play. So I'm interested to see how he holds up today because I haven't. I can't remember the last.
During preseason in Sacramento.
Oh, okay.
They're in
Yeah, they're in
preseason,
preseason
so
Sacramento.
he's
Yeah.
played a few preseason games.
Okay.
Um, actually their season starts, I want to say, next week.
Yeah.
So yeah, he should be okay as far as match.
What I just find it's when he's when I find that when he's really playing well,
Mhm.
when the chances come when he plays well, that's a real plus for us. I'm hoping that he puts on a good show today because again, this still a new team is playing around players that are just like Demetri Hill, and I'm sure the youngsters are going to start.
Yeah.
I'm very sure about that. But it's going to be interesting to see how Zico performs today.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these guys, especially the ones that haven't played for the national team in a while, they're gonna have a point to prove today. And I honestly feel that today is a day for them to kind of cement the spot for the next few games. You know what I mean? So it's going to be important that they show up,
Yeah.
do the job. And when I say do the job, see, a lot of people would say, oh, we got to win, you got to win, you got to win, you got to win. Sometimes doing a job is just doing what's being asked of you to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it might not be something flashy. It's just doing the job that you've been asked to do for the team, for the day. Because I'm pretty sure all of us have coached and all of us have asked a player to do something totally out of his character at some point in time in a game or for a game. And it's just for that one game.
Me and Rooney used to regularly do it for United.
Yeah.
Play wide, play in the middle, play striker, play.
Mhm.
It's part and parcel of whole is being called a team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a normal thing. The game is not yours.
Yeah.
The game is not yours where it's going to suit exactly what you want the game to do for you all the time. You have to do jobs for the team, and you know that's why it's funny in the world of professional football. There's so many what I call very average players that go farther
Yeah.
because they do the job for the team. Whereas
Mhm.
the special players are like, well, the game's mine.
Yes.
The game's mine, and it's got to suit me
Right.
all the time.
Right.
You know, and what we do have a bunch of potentially special players,
Mhm.
you know, but have to learn the humbleness of the game.
Right.
You know, that the game is not really theirs.
Yeah.
Guyana. I'll go back to Guyana. I was thinking about the game, and again, I watched some parts of it. I don't think there was nothing special about it. There was nothing really special. They had one of the midfielders. I forget it. I can't recall his name, but I just figured, yes, we should have. I think we should at least have come up with a draw.
Yeah.
At the least,
You're
come up
talking
with a
about
draw
the
in the
young
last
boy,
game.
Jonathan Grant.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so,
They have quite a few players. They have quite a few players that are playing in the same leagues as some of our players in the lower leagues in England as
England,
well.
yeah.
So it's a matter of again, they got the better of us in Guyana. It's our turn to get the better of them. But as Maceo pointed out earlier, they have just a little more than us to play for because they still want to advance. We want to try and create an opportunity to advance. And the only way we can do that is by beating them today. And then let's take care of Tuesday on Tuesday.
As we're speaking of players, Callum Minus is just one, of course,
Yeah.
another player that we invested a lot of time in that's no longer participating. You know, these are questions, right? Why is this happening?
I'm
It's
not
not
even
even
sure
playing
he's playing
football.
football. Yeah.
So you go from
I
what's
believe he's going
happening.
right into the ministry there.
Yeah, you go from playing at the highest level for your country nationally to not playing football.
At all. Yeah. In a
Like
matter of
in
what's that, 2 years?
a matter of 2 years.
Mhm.
Like why does this happen? Yeah, you used to work case study a lot. Are we doing case studies to say why is this happening? Why are we losing these people? You know, and I have enough knowledge of players that we lose to football. Not just lose to the national team, but that you can go around the watch the Corona League that people that don't participate at club football.
Yeah.
You know, they
Yes.
just they love football, they go to play. Like why is this happening and
Well,
how do we address the trend?
yeah. One of the reasons why, well, speaking to some of the guys who are on the fringe of when they go out there, one of the things is I can't commit the time to training at the club level. So they go to Corona because they know there's no training.
No training.
You just show up and have a kick kind of thing.
Yeah.
The team that dominates are the teams that put more into it. So they have a training session here and there and all that. But we got to understand we're in a reality that people have jobs.
Yes.
It's more pressure on people nowadays. You don't have, I mean, I glory in coaches' spirits because Maceo, when you coach, even when Punchy, when you coach, you spent enough time setting out a training schedule, a training plan for the day. You get to training, and some of the things you really wanted to work on, you can't because those particular players never showed up.
Yeah, that's I've had that
You know what I
experience
mean?
out. Yeah.
Whereas when you're doing your coaching badge, and then you get into the environment of a professional or semi-professional arena, you don't have that problem. Whatever play you tell them, you can actually go ahead and do.
Yeah.
And those are the challenges that coaches face, the challenges of work commitment. Some guys got 2 and 3 jobs.
It's true.
Players
Very
face
true.
nowadays,
Yes.
and you got a home life.
Yes.
So we have to be mindful of all of that. And no, you don't want to see a young guy quit something that he really enjoyed doing, especially if you were good enough to make it to the national level and then within 2 years you're not playing. Yeah, we need to find
Yeah.
out why. However, we
Yeah.
need to understand that he or she makes a decision. How do we support that person?
But yeah, just talking about the national program. We got to start learning to go from strength to strength.
Mm-hmm.
What again added to having much more having much more contact with the players that are not even involved today, let them be a part of this national program. So instead of having 20 players, we got 40 players at the level that they need to be at. And so I still think that it bodes well for what we're seeing right now. It's going to be very interesting today. And what do we what how far Even the result today is very important to us.
Mhm.
But then what's next?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we have to be, as we hear all the horns, because the Bermuda treatment come out of the dressing room for the warm up. Um, we look around and we see that youthfulness.
Yes.
But we also see that experience as well.
I mean, you see, or a Simon's coming out.
Mhm.
He's doing well at the college level in football. A super intelligent player. He's another player. He's another player that's growing up. That's we took at under 15. We took down into Cayman,
Right.
where we did very well. But that group of players dropped off too. Like a lot of that group of players when they were under 15. That was
Mhm.
under Andrew Bascom.
Right.
We did very well. We played against countries like Portugal at the time. Portugal beat us 2-0.
Mhm.
We played against USA beat us 2-0. And that group of players that were 15 at that time, that's going to be like 23 now. We lost the opportunity to transition that group of players.
Yes.
Mhm.
You know, and those are just things that we've got to get better at. We've got to get. I mean, and speaking on the holistic part of it, you know, I regularly speak about the scouting ability in the players. I know that some of the players are never contacted until it's time to a game.
Right.
We don't keep contact. Where are they? What's going on? They don't feel that love sometimes.
Mhm.
So we have a Corey Hill and that's something I've challenged the BFA on in the past. How do we use the network of people that we have overseas between America and the UK to keep a track on our players and just to have them feel that love, feel that interest? Because players are like that. Players are human, right?
Yeah.
They need to feel that love sometimes.
Mhm.
They do need to feel appreciated, and they're smart enough to know that. Okay, well, you're just giving me a show when it's a game.
Right.
They're smart enough to figure that out. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'll agree with that 100%, only because um, we have to make sure that we know what's going on at the club, um, and and what's going on with them personally.
Personally,
Yeah.
as a
because
person.
because I know if you're contracted to play but you're not playing,
Yeah.
you're getting depressed.
Yeah.
You're in training. You're trying to figure out what is it I'm doing wrong.
Yep.
What is and sometimes an advice from a voice back at home
Yeah.
can actually make you feel a lot better. So you
Makes
go
a
in
difference.
with a different attitude the next day, and you're able to respond.
Well,
But,
I think
but a lot of times is that because we're left to our own devices, we continue to struggle.
yes, I think that's what we're talking about in general. Filling these holes, filling these gaps that are left. Because as you look out there, look, we've got numbers,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
All we need to make sure we keep this together. We keep this going. As one person leaves, the next one comes in. So speaking about young transition of the national program, there's a young man there in JIV. My
Mm,
grandson, he's been playing at Duke University for the last year, and
right.
he's done excellent.
Mhm.
He come back and play for North Village preseason, and doing very well at the NCAA Division One.
He had a remarkable season.
Remarkable season. So he's a good. I was told they've been in contact with him.
Mhm.
So it's a start.
Yeah.
It's a start. Um,
Do we have access to the sideline?
Not as of yet.
That would be a very good profile. How are we setting up today? What does that look like? How we're setting up? Because I'd like to see it. A
Yes,
job
sir.
being started. Operations taking out.
Basically, I'm going to we'll speak about players too. Jai, I've seen him. You've seen him play. You've seen him play in these preseason games. What do you find him when we were watching? What do you find him most
I tell
effective?
you, what he is.
Yeah.
He's Ronaldo phenomenal from Brazil.
Okay.
The number 9, the original Ronaldo. If you play him on the last man, surely he can pick that ball up in the half line. He's got enough ability on the ball, enough power, enough speed that he can make something as a striker. He's
Yeah.
excuse my term, he's what you call a killer striker.
Yeah.
Now, I was disappointed when he left Benditon in his young years and he went play for BA. Can he put him back in as a holding midfielder? Use his strength in the midfielder because we lack strikers.
Yes.
No, if you watch Duke, what they're doing, this guy can score goals. This guy likes scoring goals.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
He's even a different striker than the Key Wow. I actually think the Key Wow is a goal scoring winger. For me, he's a goal scoring winger because the Key Wow possess the height and the physical ability when it comes to pulling the ball up, bringing people in. But if you give him the Key Wow chances,
Yeah.
he scores it. The guy Pitt possesses that ability. Let me hold it up. Let me get physical with you. Let me turn on you. Let me beat you on the dribble. And I can score. He's got that. Like
Yeah.
I would love to have that player at North Village in his youth year and have him as a striker and just let him free. Let him free.
I think he's just 19. He's just
He's
19.
19.
He's 19.
Well, actually, he's 20.
He's 20.
He's
I'm
20.
sorry,
He's
that's
born
right.
in the same year as Sadeo. So he's born in that same year. You know, I have video analysis of him playing in the camper at under 9 and what he was doing at 9 years old. You know, he is a phenomenal from a perspective of a striker. So I would like to see him play there. And I had a conversation with Carl before. Why didn't he play at the start of the Nations League? Why wasn't he selected? Because he was one of the players. He was one of the players that did not take an attitude summertime when he came back. He trained with the national team, you know, so it wasn't like, well, they didn't call me. He didn't take that approach. They went up there. He showed himself. He trained with them and he didn't get selected for the first game. For me, he should have been selected from the start.
Right.
This should have been like his third or fourth game into it, you know. So those decisions, and when you make those decisions at the time you make the decisions, that's what it's all about. It's all about making that decision and that choice at the time. And I'll give you an example of it, what it looks like. Argentina just won the World Cup. They went right into the World Cup with the number 11 striker. Um, his name always escapes me. He played the first game. He didn't work well with Messi, and they brought in the young striker, number 19, as that Man City,
Yes.
and he played the rest of the tournament. They made a decision at the right time, at the right moment, that won him a World Cup. We're not making those decisions at the right time. So now we're gonna dive in that in this situation, whereas we could have had a 3, 4 games into the national.
Right.
Point. The other thing I want to bring to, I've been watching, let's say, the players that are still playing locally.
Right.
I think on ones that are really iconic. Jalen Harvey has had a tremendous good season with North Village.
Right.
He's played extremely well. A lot of things went for him. A lot of something. He scored some great goals. And the way Kenny played him, he gets forward. Where his distribution is good. His defensive, still defensively one-on-ones, I would be concerned with him. But
In this squad, where do you play him?
I
Do you leave him exposed at left back, or do you play him in the middle?
well, if he's going to play, that means Zico's going to have to help him out a lot defensively.
Right.
My thing with him is when he gets up into the top third. What does Jalen do? We can get him a ball in the top third of the field.
Right.
Often enough. It's very clever on the ball. He can beat one-on-ones. His crossing is very effective.
Right.
Right. So I was just a bit concerned about his defensive. Where what is like in defensive third. Does he make rash tackles?
Right.
Does he stay calm when what happens when he's beaten one-on-ones over and over again? What do you do?
Yeah.
Well, I actually think in the right puzzle piece, if we talk about the right puzzle piece, is the center back in the middle.
Right.
And
Right.
he is capable of defending. He
Right.
is physically capable of defending. He is mentally, tactically, is tactically capable of defending. But again, is what that puzzle piece look like? Who do you put in front of him? Who do you? I actually think is probably our best defender in Bermuda at this time. He's our most comprehensive defender.
Yeah.
So I play him in the center, in the middle of the field. And I even do that with North Village. And the reason is because you got other players that can do the left back role. You got other players right now that when you really detail Bermuda, what we have produced over and over is fullbacks and wingers. So even if you take yourself or myself, that's something that they're really good. What got abundance of the fullbacks and wingers, or wingers that can be fullbacks too. You know.
Yeah. But that's just the thing. That's just the thing where when we're talking about
Oh, he said.
players.
We just been raised here with Mr. Barrett that's spent
Yes.
a whole lot of time around
Yeah.
sports in Bermuda, man. Yeah.
Let's see.
Glad to see
Glad to
he
see,
actually Mr. Bird had to deal with me as a youth, as a young player. He's probably the reason I'm still around, man. He didn't just get rid of me.
And that's the reason I'm so great.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Bear.
We're just trying to secure the clean sheet.
But it's say for that special. I think you're right about you.
Yeah.
When you express what I personally he was 90 something. Yeah. not bad, but defensively, it's so what was your fun?
I watched
Put
him
him in
this season,
something.
right?
Oh,
And
okay, look
I
good.
actually watched him this season, Painter. At the beginning of the season, I would say that I'm like, oh no, he's not a player. As the season progressed, he's one of those players that are changing my mind
Oh yeah,
about his capabilities.
yes,
You know, at the beginning of the season, I said, well, he's only playing because it's Neil Painter's son, it's the president's son. That's the reason he's playing. But as I saw how valuable he is
yeah,
to the day and the tenacity that he's got. I'm like, oh, so towards the end of the season, I'm saying, oh, this got a little bit about him. It's got a little bit of leadership. I haven't quite figured out what is his best position. Is it a defensive position or is it a midfield position? I haven't quite figured that piece out
yeah,
about him.
yeah.
You know, where his best suited, but I have figured out, oh, he's useful. And
I,
that happens in coaching, right? That's what open mind coaching. There are a lot of players that I've started off with. I'm not having it, and
yeah,
then I'm like, oh, okay, he does this. Okay,
right.
this is how he fits into puzzles.
Yeah.
This is how this happens, and that's part of having the ability to work with players.
Well,
You know,
I've seen him grow. He's grown a lot. First of
so
all,
he's grown on
he's
me. He's a
grown a
player.
lot. Yeah,
His player
exactly.
that's grown
When
on
you
me a
watch him
lot.
a year ago, you're just like,
I'm
I
like,
can't break this guy.
I
This
can't. I
guy.
say this guy can. Yeah.
But again, he's in the national program, which is good. I mean, for left having a good left-sided player,
Yeah.
which we do. It's coming along in Bermuda. It's becoming a trend now.
Yeah.
They want the left-sided players to be helped.
Well, he's another player out there since her home.
Yes.
What do we do for now? I know he's been playing as a winger, but I actually think, and he's also played as a winger at his club. I actually think the guy's the most intelligent building midfielder that was got. The
Yeah.
ability to move the ball around, the ability to pick out the right passes. So if we talk about a player, the player PhD, the player Lord,
Yeah.
you know, what he does to win it, Sincero Hall does that and more.
All right. So this is the Bermuda starting lineup. Start with Dale Evengill, Darren Archer, Daniel Cook, Roger Lee, Jalen Harvey, Zico Lewis, Dante Lebrock, Harry Tripp, Jai Bean, Naki Wells, and Aria Simmons are the starting lineup.
All right, so just go over that one more time for
Say
me,
that.
Earl.
One more. Dale Egan,
Yes.
Darren Archer, Daniel Cook, Roger Lee, Jalen Harvey, Zico Lewis, Dante Lebrock, Harry Twitch, Jai Bean, Naki Wells, and Aria Simmons.
Okay.
That's the starting lineup. On the bench will be Shaquille Hill, Benicio Hunt, Reese Jones, Sincere Hall, Liam Evans, Enrique Russell, PJ Hill, Josie Mason, Rory Scott, Keyshawn Bean, Luke Robinson, and Anzari Painter. Those are the players available for today. For Guyana, we have Kai McKenzie, Leo Lovell, Jonathan Grant, Jeremy Garnett, Jalen Jones, Nathan Welch, Amari Glasgow, Emery Welshman, Liam Gordon, Elliot Broad, and Bailey Adams is the Guyana starting lineup. So
Interesting. It's suggested that we're putting three at the back because that, if, I don't know how they're tactically setting up, but with those names, it suggests that we're going to play three at the back. We're going to play more with the wing backs rather than a flat back four. And playing because you got Harvey here. You also got Dante Labrock there, and you've got Roger.
interesting that because you talk about Dante not playing, Roger hasn't featured in Barnett for quite some time.
Interesting. That this is my point where these guys are physically.
Yeah.
Another interesting talking point about there is no Benito Hill starting, so it seems to be favoring Daniel Cook over Benito Hill in that left back position. So that's another interesting sort of talking point as to where he is, and maybe that is the right decision as you bring him as you're trying to bring Benito Hill along. Daniel Cook is already 3 games into this.
Right.
So with Daniel Cook being 3 games into the Nations League, he might have a little bit more experience.
Right. Right.
So that's interesting. What's exciting is that we feel confident putting a Jai Bean right there. Raiden, we feel confident starting right today, and that just makes my point. Why didn't he get selected at the beginning of this campaign?
Right.
That he's 3 or 4 games into it.
Interestingly enough,
It's yeah.
look at the height of our three front players. You have Zico, you have Naki, and you have Jai.
Yeah.
We cannot play the ball in the air to these guys. They're going to be they're very skillful. As you've already indicated, Mitchell, Jai is strong on the ball. So give him the ball to his feet, allow him to hold it up, and allow him to feed both Zico and Naki to allow them to be free.
Yeah.
If we go back and look at Naki Rouse's professional career, he's done well when he's played off of a big striker.
All the time.
When he's had to play straight up,
It's a learned striker.
it's been a struggle for him because that contact coming from behind, any player that's been injured knows you don't want that contact from behind anymore. So on your mind, the first thing you're doing, you might look at the ball, but you're conscious of that tackle coming behind you. However, when he played with those big strikers, they were doing the heavy lifting,
They have to lift
and
it.
he was just feeding off of them.
Well, you just have to look at the games he's played for QPR.
Yeah.
How he played for QPR.
Yeah.
He was very successful at QPR. The goals he scored. I think you're speaking on about that. Again, it's good if you could see how we set up. Now, my thing is Dante. You said Mason King 3 at the back and 5 of course in front of him, or 4. Do you play 3, or do you play 3, 4, 2 from him?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's protection. So is it pace wise? Of course, like I said to you, guys. How do we play this game today? How do we function today? And because of the additions that have been made, it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be really interesting how this is played today, how we play today.
What that selection lacks is a creative midfield of Marco Warren.
Mhm.
Right.
It lacks a creative number 10 of a Remy Connaughton. It doesn't have that. If we're talking about R.A. Simmons, is a workman-like midfielder. We're talking about if it's going to be Roger Lee that's in there, he's another workman-like midfielder.
Right.
Harry Dwight of Watts Hill, another workman-like midfielder.
Okay,
So
right.
you got 3 workman-like midfielders, but you got 3 creative type of strikers that make certain around the corner runs.
Yeah.
In the gap runs. So I don't see, again, this is the puzzle. I don't see that the puzzle is there in the selection to be able to properly service those 3 players.
Mhm.
And
Good point.
because we know what type of balls Marco Warren provides.
Yes.
We know what type of midfielder schema that he is, the spaces that he picks up. Whereas we're going with, and this is where I think we struggle, holistically as coaches. We have a way, we have an idea how we want to play, but we don't have the idea of who players fit into how we want to play. And that's the real skill. The idea how you want to play is great, but who fits into that? Who fits into that can do it? Now, Marco Warren fits into that. Marco Warren is number 10 right now, fits into where you create a situation where it's almost a free player,
Yeah.
where he can figure out where to pick up the ball. He can figure out where to service. When he figures out and he reads the game, Marco Warren figures out, do I put it on and I let people come up? Do I come to short and then I get it back? He's got that capability.
Yeah.
Again, so
At the highest level, you always have to have that type of player in your team.
Yeah.
I thought when I watched England play the other day, right? I thought Bellingham has added so much more for the team. How he plays off of Harry Kane and the runs that he makes. And of course, he's learned so much at Borussia.
Yeah.
But watch him, I think he's the future. He's the next captain of England. But
Oh, yeah.
look how he cares about what he does, his productivity. He's carried still. I think he's still carrying injured. You're not seeing him at his best yet. But so again, Mitchell, added to what's it, we find that we need to have influential players, especially in the middle part, that can dictate the game, and also with what we have up front now.
Right.
And I don't think the selection. It's gonna be. I'm going to see this. How is that going to work out in terms of the midfield? Yeah.
We have to give it an opportunity to see what comes out of it, and we have an opportunity to talk to the after the match about what the thought plan during the game.
You said that to me. Yeah, because I want to. Yeah.
What the thought plan is, going into the game and the outcome, what changes were made at halftime. Obviously, we'll get to see the whole thing,
Yeah.
and then we talk about it after. And then what do we look forward to on Tuesday?
It suggests that we want to match these guys
Right.
That's-
physically.
yes.
That would have been so.
Yeah.
So the suggestion with the selection is we want to match them physically.
Right.
We have players that are there that will match up physically,
Mm-hmm.
but and there's a hint in the selection that we also have a bit of creativity out there. So we're not going straight over the line with creativity. So I suspect that he's trying to create a balance in matching up physically
Right.
and the balance in the creative players up front doing the business. But, you know, creative players up front, they want service.
Yeah.
Yep.
They want to be able to be service in the right areas of the field. And we talked about it before when we talked about Martha Warner. You talked about on the show. Martha Lewis had to compete to get the ball.
Right.
And to the coaching staff figuring out how doesn't have to compete. How can he get the ball in the last third?
Gotta
And
get-
Martha gave a statistical analysis of the game, the goals that he's been put on. And just so you know, he took the criticism on board. He
Yeah.
took the criticism
He
and
said
said
he loved it.
he loved it.
He
He
loved
said,
it.
well, people say that I'm not doing the right things. And it irritated him to do better,
Mm-hmm.
which is great. So he came with, and great show, he came with a statistical analysis, how many goals he's been involved in, how many goals he set up.
Yeah.
But again, I think the PAT's coaching staff figured out that puzzle.
Right.
That Martha Warren gets the ball in the last third and he punishes him.
Very
You know,
much so. And how do you,
And how do you figure that out that this team here, the capabilities in goals
Mm-hmm.
that we have, how do they punish them? You know, how do those players get the opportunity goals wise that we can punish a team?
And that takes a whole group to figure it out.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Because as even last season, Martha was saying that he wasn't getting the ball supplied,
yeah,
so he took it upon himself to be the supplier
yeah.
and then go catch up the plate. They started out the same way this season. However, like you said, they figured it out. We need to get somebody to be more creative in the second, in the middle of the field
Yeah.
to get those guys the ball
Uh-huh.
up top. So all that has been figured out and worked out, and it's good that now they continue to how do they enhance it
Yeah.
at the club level, and then how do we do that at the international level?
Yeah.
I think the player that we have to watch out for today that's going to be a great international player is boy Alshaw. Darren Alshaw.
Yes, Darren.
He's coming to PAT right back.
Yeah. Okay.
He's coming on. He's making that right back position over there. So I think he's now on international standard.
Right.
You know, physically, mentally, you know, tactically. I think he's one to watch out for. You know, you got him and Tokia Russell and Enrique Russell that's out there. He spent the last 8 months or so in England playing football. It's like, okay, what does he have?
Yeah.
You know, so he's a good back to come on and see what he has.
I'm just going to bring the president in as one of the guys. Well, you stay there.
I'll stay.
Yeah, you stay. Yeah.
And,
Well, Mark,
we're going to bring the president of the Bermuda Football Association, Mr. Mark
when it
Wade,
comes-
in to join us. Welcome, Mr. President. How are you?
How you doing, sir? Well, if I myself here, you know.
I was just about to ask you.
No, that's it. Yeah.
How are you, sir? I know you're tired.
I'm
You've been working. You've been slaving.
I'm breathing out.
Okay.
So much showtime.
Yeah. I mean, if you give us a sense of what it takes for the Bermuda Football Association to put on an international match.
A lot. I mean, you know, this sort of process starts as soon as we are advised, you know, that we have a match, and then the process starts from there. So it's a lot of organizational work. The team is one thing, but getting all the puzzle pieces in place at the National Sports Center, transportation for the teams, international officials. So we have 6 here who fly in, so we have to get work permits for them, etc., etc. And that's fair enough. The game itself. We have a venue manager who makes sure that everything is up to CONCACAF standards. So he will measure the field, he will measure the technical area. He will make sure that the benches are where they should be, and they're not only from a technical perspective, but even visually, because as you know, the match is being broadcast live. Um, and then we try and put on some type of hospitality for all of our guests. So we have the VIP area, but then we also try and do some things for the regular fans as well. Um, so it's quite a bit. Game day is probably the most hectic day of it all. That's when the last minute phone calls come. Um, who doesn't have what and what's needed for what. So um, yeah, it's quite a bit. I mean, this year we have the added addition of the special performance by the Gombe Council, so that's added a little bit of complexity to it. It's a lot that goes into it, and at the end of the day, it's all rewarding to see it come off and come off smooth.
Sure.
Yeah, hey, welcome, welcome. I know it's a lot going on. In the preparation of it, the gum base is a good touch. For me, I would also like to see us get back to the Bermuda Regiment leading us out. And those things that we used to do there, they're just incorporating a wider spectrum of our community. But I know it's a lot of work. And with the Nation League, I figure we're going to have more opportunity to keep improving the system after COVID. So I'm happy to see CONCACAF and FIFA implement this Nation League. It just gives us that opportunity. But the question I want to get into, I'm more football on the field person.
Me too, those days.
Yeah. So, what are the challenges? What we see as we went through the team, we're excited about the transition into the younger group in that transition. We talked a little bit earlier about it. Maybe it should have tried to happen a little bit earlier, but I know there is a gap between player, DFA, club, thought process, and all that. Can you just speak to where the gaps are? Because I know that certain players have refused to pull up. That's a problem for us. Where do you think that gap lies that we can always get access to our data players at the time for our country? Where's that gap?
I to be honest, I do not understand it. Right? I'm a national pride guy. And if you tell me that I'm going to put on the Bermuda jersey, there is no gap. And if there's a gap, I'll fill it myself. So that's an issue that I personally don't understand. So you will notice that the during the World Cup, we had no issues getting the team that we wanted. So I think there's a level of complexity to that, right? Where it's the build up to something is where we're having maybe some challenges, right? There's a communication between player and club and the national association. I think that there's a gap there. Players understanding how important every game is. There's no game that's less important than the other. And I think that might be part of it as well. And how important it is, for example, for us to stay in the League B. Very important. Or how important it is for us to even be in the Gold Cup reviews. Maybe that's when you start talking about gaps as I'm talking, I'm thinking about
yeah,
so maybe that's some of it, understanding how important these things are to us as a country, not just to the team.
Yeah, because the Nation League is going to be a continuation of games.
Mhm.
So for a new player, there is now that COVID's over, we have potentially opportunities every national window to put yourself out there. And we spoke on TV. We spoke about Remy Collison. We know that he's been contacted and he didn't, for whatever reasons, he didn't come out.
Mhm.
Me, my advice would have been, okay, you're not playing at your club right now. This is an opportunity to come home and get some love from home to put yourself back on the international, national stage. Show your club show your country what you're about. Play with a few of your friends that are here. So we're talking about it, and we're from the media standpoint, we're trying to put it out there and have that conversation. So we always have our best. Me as a Bermudian, I know over the last 30 years, and it precedes even your presidency, that we're not always got our best players for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And we just have to fix that.
Yeah,
We have to figure that out.
I would agree with you.
Yeah.
And I think even in the case of Remy Condison or anybody who is maybe not featuring at the club, and they have the feeling that I should stay there and try and make my way into the team.
Yeah.
I would point to a Reggie Leon who used the national program to get himself into the right
shop window.
shop window and get himself into the right game mood to then go back and challenge for a spot in his team. And if you ask him about it, he'll say, the national team helped me to get back into the team and get back into the groove of football. So it's maybe there is sort of communication, and maybe there's that sort of mentoring is probably maybe needed as well within the team. So I think it's an area that we are going to have to grow into and mature into. And that's one of the things that we talk quite a bit about at the BFA is what we're maturing into, and maturing into being able to compete with the USA, Costa Rica's, Canada's of our region, and we have to mature into what is required.
Yeah, and that's good that we're having
I
a
know
conversation.
we're time now sensitive because Mr. Wade has to go and do his for the game. So
Right?
we're gonna end the pre-game show here. We're gonna pick up after the match, so we should be back on. I would say about 5 after 5 or 10 after 5 with the post-game show, and hopefully interviews with both coaches and captains following the match. So thank you very much, Mr. Wade.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Okay.
You've got to go and do your duties with
Yes, sir.
players and so forth.
All right.
So thank you very much. Folks, we'll be back after the match.